Hi everyone, it's Lara here from LK Yoga, and today I've got a quick video for you to help assist you with our easy seated cross-legged position, Sukhasana. So although it's called easy seated cross-legged pose, however you want to phrase it, it's not that easy for quite a lot of people. You might find when you come to sit down, your knees are somewhere up here. Do not fret, there's a lot we can do to firstly make this pose more comfortable and secondly improve our range of motion. So number one, we are going to improve our position. So few little things you can do. Firstly, just sit on a block or a firm pillow. Make sure it's straight. And what this will do is just take a little bit of the intensity around the hip flexor connection here, out the pose, and lift the hips, makes it just that little bit more comfortable to start with. The next thing you can also do is perhaps take some blocks underneath the knees, so the knees are supported. So again, just taking a little bit of the weight of the legs out of this sort of tight region here, make it a bit more comfortable, whilst at the same time perhaps sitting on another block or a cushion. So this is just a nice way to very quickly make the pose a little bit more comfortable and accessible right this very moment. Next thing we're going to do is look at a couple of stretches to help us over time improve our range of motion here. So the reason why it can be uncomfortable to sit in a cross-legged pose can be varied. It can be a combination of quite a few different factors. Often there is a component of tight hip flexors and tight glutes. So both of these two things can make it uncomfortable to sit in a cross-legged pose. So to focus in on the tight glutes, we're going to look at two stretches. Number one is recline pigeon. So we're going to lie on our backs. We're going to take the left leg and place it on the outside, just slightly at the ankle here of the right leg. So this might be enough straight away, just lying on the mat. Make sure your shoulders are nice and relaxed. We don't want any tension if we can help it through the rest of the body. Now you can also add a little bit of extra pressure by taking the left hand and pressing it into the knee. That might be enough. What you can also do is spread the hands through to the back of the right leg and then just gently draw the right leg in. At the same time, we're thinking about pressing this left leg away. Perhaps take the left hand and just gently press it in there. So I'm going to talk to you about times for these stretches afterwards, but we're just going to show you all the stretches first. So obviously, repeat that on both sides. The next stretch that can help with tight glutes is just a really simple seated twist. So I'm going to show you both sides so you can sort of see different aspects of it. So first I'm going to extend the right leg out in front. I'm going to just take the left leg over the top. The right arm will come around the outside of the left knee. I'm going to try and keep the spine as straight as possible, lifting the chest, and gaze over the left shoulder here. So I'm just going to switch the sides now so you can see sort of the other side of the stretch, as it were. So what I'm doing here is getting a lovely stretch around the outside of this hip. You want to make sure that you're trying to keep the hip on the ground. It will lift slightly, but by thinking about making sure both glutes are touching the ground, you're really going to make the most of this stretch. Also, nice long spine, chest lifted, gazing over the shoulder. So again, we'll talk about timings just in a second. So that's another one for the glutes. It's really beneficial to do all of these, but if you know one is tighter than the other, you can focus your time on that. So then if you have tight hip flexors, a nice easy modified crescent moon lunge is going to be great. Just a simple hip stretch here. One thing I want you to think about is trying to tuck the hip with the knee on the floor in just slightly. So I'm thinking about tucking that hip underneath me. So if you're relaxed in this pose, you might not feel anything here at all. If we think about tucking the glutes under here just very slightly, you're going to feel a load of stuff going on down the front of the hip there. Make sure the toes on the front foot are nice and relaxed, and you can just rest the hands on the leg. That's absolutely fine. Just try and make sure that, as I said, toes relaxed, upper body's relaxed, so there's no unnecessary tension in the pose. From here, you can come into lizard as well. So you can take the hands and rest them on the mat directly. If you have a block handy, you can use any height of the block to assist you. You can also come down to your elbows on the block, or perhaps take elbows all the way down to the mat. So what we can do then as well is just take the left hand and press it onto the inside of the left leg, just gently, avoiding directly on the knee to intensify the stretch here as well. So you're going to feel the stretch across the front of the right hip and also perhaps through the inside of the left hip, perhaps even the glutes as well, depending on where you're most tight. So that's another really great stretch there. From here, final pose that we're going to have a quick look at is Happy Baby / Frog if you're very brave. So for Happy Baby, just going to lie on my backs, take the hands to the insides of the knees. We're going to catch hold of the feet, lift the heels up towards the ceiling. From here, make sure my back feels nice and broad, and I'm just going to gently rock left and right, just very subtly. So what that's going to do is just help everything to relax and switch off. I'm trying to almost draw the knees down to the ground, sort of below my armpits, as it were, and I'm going to press the heels up to the ceiling. You should get a lovely stretch through the groin, and also that sort of gentle rocking left and right, really good for giving any sort of lower back issues, a little bit of a massage. It just feels really, really good. So that's a great one to work on as well. If you're feeling brave and want to take sort of the next level up on stretching out through the front of the hips, you come into frog. So we're going to take the knees reasonably wide, right at the edge of our mat, otherwise the feet will be on the floor and that's a bit uncomfortable. If you've got a blanket or something you can do this on, it's probably beneficial, as a lot of people find this uncomfortable on their knees and uncomfortable on the inside of their feet, so a bit of padding goes a long way here. My feet are turned so that my inside of my feet on both sides is pressing directly into the mat. From here I'm going to come down onto my forearms and just very gently press back, so only a little bit. So just to that point where you start to feel the stretch, and there's no need to go further here. This is a stretch that's really great to hold for about 2 to 5 minutes. Now, so far I've not really talked to you about timings, because for all these stretches, it's a really good idea to take about 15 seconds of just applying that little bit more pressure, and then a couple of seconds just to relax off the pose. For example, here in frog, I might press myself back into the pose for about 15 seconds. Remember, I'm not trying to sort of overdo it here. It's just that point where it's like, oh, okay, I can feel the stretch. 15 seconds. And then a couple of seconds just coming back out of the pose ever so slightly, taking off that tension, letting the body be like, oh, okay, that wasn't too bad, and then coming back in. So at a very minimum, we want to try and do about 4 rounds of that. So regardless of which pose you're in, so if you're in reclined pigeon, then just come back and show you again. We'll do 15 seconds of drawing the leg in, and then a couple of seconds of just relaxing the tension. 15 seconds drawing in, and a couple of seconds relaxing the tension. So for all of those poses, really, if you've got time, a minimum of a minute total under tension. So that's 4 times 15 seconds, just putting that little bit of pressure on, getting a bit deeper, and then just making sure you've got those 2 seconds in between, just releasing the pressure a bit, letting the body, the nervous system in particular, be like, okay, that wasn't too bad, and then applying the pressure once more. So you might notice I've got a little ball here too. So as great as yoga and stretching is, there are a couple of things you can do to sort of fast track your progress with this, and that's when we get into a little bit of mobility and foam rolling. Foam rolling is a wonder cure for a lot of things. One thing just to be mindful of is if you're ever feeling sharp pain, sort of nervy pain, that sort of refers down the leg or into the hip, up the back, anything really sharp, it's probably worth seeing someone in person, a physio, whatever, because you might have some sort of nerve impingement going on. So it's not just tight muscles, there's a little bit more going on, and it's nothing to necessarily immediately worry about, but it's worth having someone sort of help you through that rather than just a random video on YouTube, etc. If you're not getting that and it just feels tight and uncomfortable, then that's great, something you can probably just sort out at home, a few minutes here and there. So the other thing that we can do to help us sit more comfortably is to take a ball. I've got quite a big foam ball here, quite firm. You can use a lacrosse ball if you're a bit sadistic. I tend to use one of those sometimes. You can also use the handle of a kettlebell, or anything that's a little bit hard. I've got desperate before and used a bowling pin. It'll all work. So we're just going to place it underneath the glute and just very gently move back and forth. So you can take as much weight as you want in the arms and in the feet, so that, you know, it's only just a really gentle massage. You don't need to massacre yourself here. because we want to keep it moving and keep the tissue moving. If you do find one spot that's really tight, you find a bit of a knot, you can increase the pressure a bit, stay for about 10-15 seconds. Just try and consciously breathe into it. Exhale, let go of that tension. Keep doing that. And if you feel anything relaxed, that's great. If not, don't worry. Just go back to moving around. One day it will loosen off. It's no reason to stop trying. So you can do that on both sides. Just a quick little mobilization. You can also try moving the leg at the same time, just finding some unusual position where you might get into the muscle, and that might just work a little bit better at releasing it. So you can always have a play around like that. The final thing, it's a little bit confusing to explain via video, so do let me know by a comment or a message if you want a bit more of an explanation on this, but it's a hip reset. So what you're going to do is make sure one hand is pressing onto the front of the leg and the other hand is behind. As long as you're doing this and you're pressing the leg into the hand, whichever way around that is, it's going to work. So we don't want two hands like this, we don't want two hands like this, we want one hand in either direction. So I'm going to make sure that the leg presses into the hand and the hand presses into the leg. So for my left leg, that's going to mean my leg is pressing this way and my hand is pressing this way. For the right leg, it's going to be my leg is pressing this way and my hand is pressing this way. So if you do them at the same time, the legs and the hands are pressing in opposite directions, but don't think too much about that because it gets confusing. Just press the hand into the leg. Do that for about 10 to 15 seconds, like we work with our stretches. Release, let go, change direction. So we're going to do that for a minimum of 4 swaps. So that is my second swap. I'm doing it a bit quicker, just to give you an example. Third swap, and then fourth swap. Really, really simple. That helps to reset the hip capsule position a little bit. So another thing that is very much worth doing. So just a few quick tips. Quite a quick video. We all have busy days, but please do give me a comment or a message and let me know if this video has been helpful for you. Let me know if you'd like a walkthrough video, so where I actually hold the stretches for the amount of time that you would be doing them. If you think that's a helpful thing, I'll do it. I'm mindful of the fact that most people, if a video is more than about 6 minutes, they're gone. So trying to keep the video nice and short. And if there's anything else you ever want help with, just pop us a message. We're more than happy to get around to making a little video that will help you with your yoga practice and just general well-being. And if you haven't already, do check out our YouTube, our Instagram, our Facebook. We're always trying to put on little helpful tips there for you. So have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are, and hopefully see you soon. Namaste.